Hello and welcome to this Autodesk Revit tutorial where you're going to learn the basics of Autodesk Revit in 23 minutes. If you're an architect, civil engineer, student or hobbyist, you will learn all the basic tools and tips you need to start navigating your Revit user interface and drawing your projects, be it architectural, structural or mechanical projects. If you're coming from AutoCAD, SketchUp or ArchiCAD, you'll see why Revit is creative, dynamic and fun to use. This is a basic tutorial, so for more in-depth tutorials, check out my other videos on the channel. So let's get started. Autodesk Revit is a building information modeling software that auto-generates your building elements or building components automatically while you're drawing them. It's one of the most powerful building information modeling tools currently in existence. It also functions in 3D, so it has multiple views for you to actually visualize your project. Revit is the industry standard for architecture, engineering, and construction professionals. So this is the Autodesk Revit 2025 home screen, and you'll be greeted with two options here. You can either choose to design a building model or you can choose to design a family. The difference between model and family, like I mentioned, the model is the building itself, while families, think of families as the elements in the building like chairs, doors, windows, door handles or side stools, all those kind of stuff. You can kind of model them individually, so Revit allows you to do that as well. So to create a new project in Revit 2025, you can go over to the model space here and then go ahead and click new. And once you go ahead to click that, you're going to get a dialog box that shows you the template file. So Revit template basically is arranging most of your tools to give you easy access to the ones that you need. So currently in Revit 2025, mine has been compressed to multiple disciplines, both imperial and metric. So imperial is using it in inches and in feet, while metric discipline is going to use it in meters and centimeters. You can also create your own project templates, or you can also browse to find out more about Revit, other Revit templates. There's construction templates, commercial templates, electrical, plumbing, structural templates, and mechanical templates. So you can go on and load any of this in case you want to work specifically on those kind of projects, but we're going to use the multidiscipline project now, and I'm going to set it to metric. Now you can go ahead, select project, of course, and then click OK. So once you're here in the Revit tab, you can see the architecture tab, insert tab. Most of these other options have individual tools that are combined in them, so you can use that. Architecture contains all the elements that you can go on to create. Insert is how you link 3D models into your Revit. Annotate tab is how you dimension your model, and analyze is the BIM hub for Revit. So you can go and create energy models in here and also analyze your building to be energy efficient. But let's not get into detail in there. In the Revit Workspace, on the left hand side, you're going to see a property panel, and you can also see a project browser panel. These are vital to your workflow in Revit. You use the project browser to actually navigate through your project. So you can see that we're currently on floor plans architectural level 1. You can also go ahead and create new levels, but let's just scroll down and you can see even 3D views. You can go ahead and click one of the views in 3D, and then you can see the 3D view here and see what your building actually looks like. We haven't created anything yet, so we're just going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to just switch back to the level 1 architecture now, and then we're going to pick a wall. In Revit, there are different kinds of walls. This is the generic wall, basic 200mm wall, and you can see, just go ahead and click the basic wall. You can see all other types of walls. There are exterior walls and interior walls and also masonry walls, so you can use any of them. We're going to use a generic 200 wall right now, and you can also see other options here. This moment you go on to click the wall, you can choose the wall height. You can choose if you want your height to be unconnected or you want your height to be locked to level 1 or to level 2. If you go on to select level 2, Revit is going to create that wall starting from level 1 to level 2. So let's just choose level 2 for now. Notice that once you go ahead and click level 2, the dimension for the wall actually grays out, and Revit is going to use the distance between level 1 and level 2. You can also see the location line here. Currently it's set to wall center line, but there are other options you can choose. I'm going to show you how they work. Let's go ahead and create a wall. You can see the modify place wall tab in here, and on the right to that you can see choose to use either rectangle or a straight line. We're going to use a straight line to create the wall now. So just go ahead and click anywhere, and then you can move your mouse. I recommend that you use a scroll wheel mouse for this because it's kind of easier in Revit, and I'm going to show you why. If you want to zoom into Revit like this, you use your mouse wheel, roll it upwards, and it kind of zooms in for you. And if you roll out, it's going to, if you roll downward, it's going to zoom out for you. So I'm going to use 4000mm for this wall. Go ahead and click there, and I'm going to press escape now to try and disable the wall settings. So currently you can see that we're still in the wall. So once I go ahead and press escape once, it stops the wall command where I wanted it to stop, but then it allows you continue creating another wall like this. I can choose to select the middle of this wall or the end of this wall. So I choose to select the end and I can start another wall, but notice that the wall is starting at the dead center. So what that means is we're currently using the wall center line to do this. Since it is set to wall center line, that's why we have it at the dead center. But if I go ahead and change this and say I want it to be on the finish face exterior, if I go ahead and click this, you can see that is where the wall is going to start from. The location line of that wall is now set to the finish face exterior. So you can go ahead and create another wall here. Let's call it 2500, and notice how Revit automatically joins the two walls together. If I go ahead and click escape once, so now we have our walls. Let's just go ahead and finish it with a curved wall at the end. Revit allows you to create elements using arc or tangents. So we're going to use center, or let's use the start, end and radius, and then go ahead and create the arc. It's very similar to AutoCAD, to be honest. So go ahead and click this option. I want the wall to start from here, and I want this wall to end at this other point, and immediately that happens, you can see the arc is now created, and then you can go ahead and choose a wall. You can choose the degree angle that you want it to be. I'm going to just use 160 degree now, and then click accept. So now we have our sort of building. Now remember, if I press escape twice, it's going to disable the wall command. So okay, let's get serious and change this wall from this curved wall that we have here. I'm just going to go ahead and click another wall and generate 200. Let's just finish this too. And I'm going to show you a little trick of how you can go about finishing your walls. Now Revit has similar behaviors to AutoCAD. So go ahead and click the ends in here. You can see that was still on finish face exterior. So I'm just going to choose, let this be like 1200 meters or 1200 millimeters, sorry. So if I have another 1800 millimeters over here, just like in AutoCAD, you can use trim and extend to actually finish this wall. So you can go ahead and select the first wall and then over to the second one. You can see it's going to join it over to the center, and then you have your complete wall. Over on the architecture tab, we can find doors, and we can also include a door in this building. And the beauty of Revit is that whenever you go ahead to include an element in any view at all, Revit actually updates it in every other view that you have in your project. So if I have a wall that has a door attached to it like this, there's our wall. You can change the position of this door by changing the dimensions here. But we're just going to press escape once and again, and then go over to 3D view, and then you can see our building. Down here, there's a cube on the right hand side, the top right corner. You can always use this cube to kind of navigate your building. So I can go ahead and click the corner here, or just click and drag, and then you can see our wall and the door that is assigned to our wall. That's where it is. So that's how it goes on to update everything for you. This cube also has annotations assigned to them. There's a north view, east view, south view and west view. Of course, the back is also here, so you can go over to your project browser and then look for the elevation. You can see the elevations tab down here. Here's your elevations tab for building elevation. Just click the plus sign to bring it down. We're looking for the north elevation, architectural. Go ahead and double click, and then you can see your building and the door. It's also assigned to the elevation. Just one move that we made in floor plan was actually updated in the elevations as well. Now Revit also has a scale and detailed level. So before we understand how the scales work, we actually need to turn up the detailed level and also add some text and dimensions to our building. So I'm going to go over to the annotate tab right now. We're going to use the linear dimensions to actually dimension our building to see what we're cooking. Each of these dimensions work in their own way. So if you're using a linear dimension, you need to select the center line or the edges like this of a particular element. Click it once and then click the next edge like this. And then once you've selected that, you can then see the dimension of your building in place. The next option you can use is the aligned option. We can go ahead and select align and then just pick one element. You can choose, I think align is the fastest way to use and dimension the buildings. You can choose one surface here and then go over to the next one, and then you have your dimensioned 2537 mm. Now Revit has different levels of detail. If you go down to the bottom left here, you can see detail level is currently set to coarse, and you have coarse, medium and fine detail level. We currently have a generic wall set, so it's not going to show us much difference. So we're going to switch the wall now and select one of these walls. You can change the wall anytime you want. So currently I have a generic wall in here. You can select a wall The moment you do that, the project browser actually updates, and then or the properties panel actually updates and shows you the wall settings. So I can go ahead and choose this wall and then scroll down to a wall that has different dimensions. I can choose a brick on CMU, concrete masonry wall. Go ahead and select that wall. You can see that the wall has automatically updated here in the Revit Workspace as well. So now that we've changed our wall, we can go over to the detailed level now and change the detailed level from coarse to medium. And once that's done, you can see the detailed level of the wall has now changed. We can see what the wall actually contains. So each of this wall has a structural core element and then a finished face element on the wall. You can also change the visual style. The wireframe option has to be you can also change the visual style of how your model actually appears in the workspace. Currently we're set to hidden line because that's kind of the neatest, but wireframe allows you to see elements within elements. So if I go ahead and choose wireframe, you can see how this wall actually connects all the way to the end, and you can see also the line where the door is actually cutting through the wall. But if I switch it back to hidden line, you don't get to see those options. If I switch it again to shaded, you can see what the wall actually looks like when it is shaded, and you can also choose other options like consistent colors, textures only, or realistic elements. Let's just look at what consistent color actually looks like. So this is what Revit 2025 represents, consistent colors in Revit. Depending on how you want to work, you can go ahead and make those changes here. Now I've gone on to add some windows to our building, but you can't see it right now because I'm using the hidden line option. Normally this is not how it was in Revit before. So I'm just going to switch it down to wireframe, and then from wireframe you can see the windows that we've gone on to add. You can also see them in 3D as well. You can see them in this building. Another very crucial tool that you need in Revit is how to select items. So you can use the left mouse button to actually go on to select one single item, and once you select the item, it's going to highlight in blue. If you hold on to your CTRL button on your keyboard, the control button, you can hover over another element and then select those two elements at once. You can go and select as many elements as you want. Now if you hold on to the shift key, the minus sign actually pops up over the mouse head, as you can see it, and then you can go to the elements that you've already selected and then use the left click button to unselect them again. So that's kind of how left click select actually works here in Revit. You can also use selection areas to actually select items. So if you're selecting if you click the mouse button and drag and select from left to right like this, you have to completely cover an element before it becomes selected. You can see the window how it goes on to highlight, but the moment I move past the window, the selection actually disappears. So this is helpful when you're going on to select one single item and you need to be sure that it's only that item that gets selected. However, if I move from the right hand side towards the left with a dotted line selection area option, you can see that once the selection bar touches anything, it's going to go on to select this element. This is very useful if you're going to select multiple elements, or indeed you want to select the entire building without missing anything in particular. You can go ahead and just use the right to left selection area drag, and then you can make sure that everything is selected. Once you've selected everything and then you want to pick out options, you can use the filter button in here and just go ahead and select filter. Let's say I want to take out the dimensions. I can just uncheck the dimensions and then click apply. You can see that everything else is going to be selected except the building's dimensions. I'll just go ahead and click check none and apply, so I can have everything deselected again. So because we're not crazy, we're going to actually try to finish this building, although it's really small. We're going to finish it with a floor and of course a small roof. So you notice that the wall here has been set to the inside face showing outside. So you can see the brick pattern of the brick wall and it's showing on the inside of the building. We don't want that. So in Revit, it's pretty easy to go ahead and change this. All you have to do is just select the building and then go ahead and press spacebar on your keyboard, and it's going to flip that building, or it's going to flip that wall to the other side. So you can now see that the inside of the wall is currently set to the interior material, and then you have your brick wall here on the outside. So the next thing we want to do is to actually add a floor, and then we can add a roof. To add a floor, you can do this in 3D if you want, but we're going to do it in the level 1 architectural, just like we did for the walls. You can see the floor option here. Go ahead and select floor. You can choose to either create a structural floor, you can choose to create a floor by face, or you can choose to create an architectural floor. In this case, we're going to click architectural, and then just like walls, you can also see different types of floors. You have concrete floors and other steel bar, wooden floors, wood with carpet finish. I think this sounds nice, so we're going to select this option. And Since this is a very simple rectangular building, you can use the rectangle tool, but you can also use a line tool to actually pick individual elements and draw the wall manually by yourself by sketching. So I'm going to use the line tool here so you see how it works. I'm going to choose one endpoint. I'm also going to choose another endpoint here and then just go around the building and create a very simple rectangle like this. Now the wall is going to be on the inside of the walls. Once you're done, you can click the modify tool here on the left, one of the most powerful Revit companions that you can have. And so once that's done, you have the floor here, but in case I don't want my floor to just lap on the edge of the wall like this, I want it to go inside the wall, maybe halfway. You can select the boundary of the wall that you've created like this. In case I don't want my floor to just lap on the side of the wall like this and I want it to go inside the wall, you can just hold on to the floor boundary that you've created like this and then use the move tool, click and drag, and then you can go ahead and move your wall line. You can also find the move tool here in the modify option when you go ahead and select when you go ahead and select the line. So I'm going to select this other line, go ahead and use the move tool here, and you can click one end of the move. You can click one end of the line like this and then move it slightly up into the center. So there's our own wall, and then we're going to do that to this other wall as well. Move it in here, and then of course this other wall. So now we have our floor inside the wall, so it's going to cut into that wall and then not just lap on the face of the wall like that. So go ahead and click finish once you're done, hit the green bar, and we have our floor. So there is the floor. It's kind of sticking out right now, but in Revit there's a quick way to actually go ahead and hide this. What you're going to do is to use the properties panel to check the depth of this floor. So I'm going to just use the properties panel here, go ahead and edit the type. You can see all the details about the floor that we have. You can also see the floor thickness in here, 307.0 millimeters. That is the floor thickness that we have. I'm just go ahead and accept that and click OK. Then I'm going to go over to the wall here and go ahead and press the tab key. What is going to happen is that it's going to select all the walls that are linked to that wall that you were selecting before. Click that and then just go over to the properties panel again. You can see that you have multiple types of walls selected. Go ahead to the base offset. So we're going to now type in 307.0, but since we want it to come down and not just go upward, we're going to use a negative value of 307, so minus 307. You can move your mouse to the workspace for it to apply like this, or you can just choose to click apply from the properties panel and then it's going to apply. So once that's done, you can see that our wall has actually been offsetted by 307 to cover the floor itself. You can actually make it go down a bit more if you want the floor to be inside and then the wall just has a depth going down beyond the floor. So we're going to do a simple roof this time, and then over for the roof I'm going to choose to go with level 2, and then we're going to create the roof model on level 2 because that's where we want our roof to be. If you want to create a simple gable roof in Revit, what you have to do is to select the boundaries. You can use a rectangle this time. Just go ahead to the corner here, click once and then click and drag and select it like this. On there you can go ahead and click the modify panel and then select one of the elements here. You can see the define slope option. Depending on where you want your gable to go, if you want there to be a slope on that side, just go ahead and allow it, but then I don't want there to be a slope on this end, so I'm going to select this end and uncheck the option that says define slope. I'm also going to select the second end here and uncheck the option that says define slope. Once that's done, we're going to go ahead and click OK and accept it, and then you can see our walls, but you notice that there's a space in between the wall and us. But before we go ahead and join this wall to this roof, what we're going to do next is to actually add a sort of overhang on the roof so it's not just slapping on the wall like this. So I'm going to go ahead and click edit and go over to the wall footprint again and just delete everything that we finished creating before now. So what we're going to do this time is to go ahead and select a line. You're going to see the offset option here is kind of like an overhang, so we're going to shift this by 600 millimeters and then go over here and click and drag. You can see that it's centered on the inside now, so very simple on Revit. Just go ahead and press the space bar button to move it to the outside. So that's where we now have our wall and the overhang assigned to the wall. I'm just going to go ahead and click it for the second area here. You see that it's also automatically set to the outside. I'm going to delete this line and do an overhang of about 300 for this second point. So I'm going to just select the offset here and say 300. go over to the edge of the wall and select it from this point, take it over to here, do the same thing on this end there. Now this time, remember, we have to disable the slope in case we want our roof to not slope at this end. We're going to go ahead, select this, uncheck the slope. Notice that our line here is on the inside. Just go ahead and press spacebar to move it outside. Okay, that didn't work, so I'm gonna have to draw this line again. Select this option, choose 300. Once you're here, it's set to the inside, press spacebar to take it outside, and there we go. So one last thing to do is to remove the defined slope from that A region and then go ahead and choose accept. So now Revit is warning us that all these lines have to be connected together. So if you're using an overhang in your design, you need to actually connect the lines manually. So that's very simple, like AutoCAD. Use your trim and extend tools, click this, join it here. Same thing with this line. Do the same for these edges and you're done. Go ahead and click accept. There is our roof with the overhang. So the last thing to do now is actually connect the wall to the roof. So go ahead and click this wall. You're going to see an option to modify the wall. You can see attach top base or detach the top to the base. So before that, I'm going to just hover over all of them and then click tab to select all the walls at once. Once that's selected, I can then attach to the top and then click the roof and glue. There we go. So now a very simple, small, whatever this is called, building has been generated. And then you notice that we also have a floor plan for this building, and we also have a sort of building elevation kind of, so you can see the east elevation of the building. Here it is, very simple. Everything is done automatically for you in Revit while you are working, and any changes that you make to the software, any changes that you make to your design automatically updates in all other views as well. So this is a very simple Revit tutorial, to be honest with you. You can tell from the building that we went on to create, but if you like more advanced Revit tutorials like this, you can check out the channel for other videos, and remember to subscribe for more Revit tutorials like this here on the channel. I'll see you in the next video.